All right. In this video, we're going to talk about understanding the investor journey. In the last video, we talked about the marketing funnel. That's basically understanding that everyone has to move through a funnel, and you have to make them aware, and you have to give them a call to action to move them through, which is all well and good. But today, we're going to spend some time talking about the investor journey, and that's really, how do you move that person through that funnel? What's a logical way to move them through that funnel? And why would they even want to move through that funnel? So by the end of this video, you'll have a much better understanding of your role and the potential investor's role and how you can communicate with them and get them through that marketing funnel. Because what you have to remember here is that when you're raising capital, you have a person that probably doesn't know much about apartment investing to start with. And the way I always like to think about it is you take a person who you want to become a passive investor. So they're over here, they don't know anything about apartment investing, and you want to get them over here. One of the common misconceptions, I think, is that you can just approach people and tell them that, hey, I think the thing for you to do is start investing in apartments. But what you need to do at first is realize that people don't walk around. It's just not common knowledge that you can invest in apartments. And so nobody's laying awake at night with their worries and saying, hey, I wish I could just find someone to offer an apartment investment for me. It doesn't work that way. People don't think the answer to their problems is that they will get cash flow out of apartment investing. And what you want to do is have them get that feeling of, if I invest in apartments, it's going to solve my problems for me, whether that's I need more money for retirement, or I need more money that I want to cash flow, or I want to grow my wealth faster. So how do you communicate with this person who doesn't know anything about apartment investing and get them to where they feel that apartment investing is going to be the right fit for them? And really, the way you have to understand is, why do people invest their money in the first place? Here's something I've learned along the way, and that is that, if you boil everything down, the reality of it is everybody wants financial freedom. Everybody. And another common misconception, this is something that I used to even struggle with, was, I want to find really high net worth individuals, but I have to speak differently to high net worth individuals than people that have a good salary, but they're not, super high net worth individuals. But I need you to think about something here, is a couple of concepts. Is as you make more money, it's really hard to go backwards in your lifestyle. You want to continue to make that money, and everybody wants more money. And why do they want more money? Well, there's a specific reason why, is they want financial freedom. But before we go down that path, think about this, is that almost everybody, regardless of their formal education, are not very financially literate. So take, for example, a doctor. They're very, very, very highly educated in their field. They make a lot of money, but it's probably also very likely they don't have a whole lot of education on how to invest their money. Yes, they make more money, but they probably don't have a whole lot of formal education on investing. I mean, if you think about it, going down the path of becoming a apartment investor, or investing in oil and gas, Bitcoin, or doing your own thing in the stock market, doing Airbnbs, any of those things, they take a lot of time and effort, energy to learn those. And so that's where you can come in as a subject matter expert, is because you have to realize that as people get promoted in their corporate job, they make more money. But just because you get a promotion doesn't mean you get, here's some financial education of how to go invest your money. And what that means is, most people, they just choose to leave their money in a 401k. And that's okay, that's fine. But if people have just their money in a 401k, it becomes a lot harder for them to have the financial freedom. And what you're going to do is, you're going to offer them a different investment strategy, is basically what you're going to do. But ultimately, what people want is they want this this financial freedom so that they can retire on the beach someplace. But what you have to understand is going on that premise is, okay, so realize that most people, regardless of how much money they make, they probably lack somewhat of financial literacy. You have lots of money. Yes, you make lots of money, but where do you invest it? So if you can understand that people have this, they need some help being financially literate. And if you can help them become financially literate, then you can help them with their financial freedom that they're looking for. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what it all boils down to is time freedom, because everybody wants more time in their lives. And the best way to think about this is, everybody has pain points, and the reason why people work so hard and make more money is so that at some day, hopefully they can work less. And the only way you can work less is if you have this financial freedom, ultimately time freedom, because none of us really know when our clock is up. So the sooner we can get to time freedom, the sooner we've won. All right, but how do we do this? You're thinking, Stephen, this is all well and good, great information, but how do we do this? The framework that you're going to use is what I like to call the StoryBrand Framework. And so I know there's a lot on the screen here. Let me start explaining this. There is, in the StoryBrand Framework, there's really two roles in this story. There is a character, and there is a guide. You can think of the character as the hero of their own story, meaning your job, if you're truly helping out a passive investor, think of yourself as a consultative role. What you're going to do is you're going to help people achieve financial freedom and time freedom, and you're going to do that by helping them with financial literacy. And you help them be the hero of their story. So you are the guide, they are the hero. And a good way to think about that is like Yoda and Luke Skywalker. So Luke Skywalker, he is the hero of the Star Wars saga, but he had a guide, and that was Yoda. And so your job really is to be Yoda. And I'll explain how this works as going through the story. So the StoryBrand Framework works like this. There is a character. This is a potential investor, and they have a problem. They want time freedom. They want financial freedom. And then they meet a guide, and that guide is you. They meet you. And then you're going to give them a plan, and that's you're going to show them how to accelerate their retirement investment and get more cash flow. You're going to call them to action, which is to get them into a deal. And ideally, that results in success. They have achieved time freedom and financial freedom faster with less work, and it helps them avoid their failure. So if you look at it from a little bit different perspective, just like what I was saying, you take this story here and you have a potential investor. What we have to do is have to meet them where they are at. They likely might not know a lot about apartment investing. And so you can't walk up to somebody and say, hey, I think you should invest in apartments. But what you can do is meet with someone and start asking them questions, like what their goals are for retirement. You can start providing financial education information to them. And once they start warming up to you, we know that they want time freedom. Our job is to understand how quickly they want to get there and how hard they're willing to work to get there. But that's where you come in as the guide. You have to take the time to speak to someone and listen to them and ask them the right questions to know, can you really help them achieve their goals? Just because they make a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean they are qualified, because if they make a lot of money, but they're in a huge pile of debt, they're probably not the right person for you. Or maybe they have money invested in other things and it's providing better returns than what you can provide them. So you have to qualify the person, but that is your job as the guide. Find the potential investor. They're the hero of their story. And find out if they really want this time freedom. The answer most of the time is going to be yes. Then they meet you, as the guide. And what you're going to do is you're going to give them the investing education. You're going to show them the alternative to just investing their money in traditional 401k and stocks, which is not a bad option, but it helps diversify quite a bit by investing in apartments. And so that's where you call them to action, is invest passively in apartments, and you'll be able to make more money than where you have your money invested in the 401k. And you can achieve your financial freedom and time freedom faster. And that right there really is the investor journey. And that is how if you take this mindset and you apply it to capital raising, then what you begin to do is you can take your content that you're going to be creating, and so you can start nurturing and finding these potential investors, and you can start playing off of what those problems are. If you know people want time freedom and financial freedom, but they're all struggling to make the money they want and the returns they want in the stock market, or they haven't been able to put as much money as they'd like to in the stock market, or they're into real estate investing, but they don't have the time. Those are all problems you can present that you have a solution to. And once they start warming up to this idea, they will start seeing you as a guide. And that is your opportunity to have that conversation with them and provide them more detailed information about apartment investing, get them into a commitment to invest in your deals and get those results. So the next thing, really what we need to do here is, now that we understand the marketing funnel and we understand the customer or the investor journey and the StoryBrand framework, the next thing we need to do is really dive into what that avatar is going to look like. And I've spent a lot of time understanding and learning how to really truly identify that avatar. And so in the next video, that's what we're going to do, is we're going to look into the how you can define your avatar, and I'm going to give you a worksheet as well. So I will see you in the next video.